Morning everyone, and welcome to another one of my videos. Now you must be wondering, why am I wearing a t-shirt in the middle of winter? It is absolutely chilly out there. It's because I'm heading up north to the Northern Territory this morning. So we're going to fly from Adelaide to Darwin for me to get some warmth because I am just so cold. It is very, very cold this morning. Yeah, so I can't wait. So I'm not sure if the Qantas lounges are open today. So we're going to be flying on Jetstar. This is a pretty lengthy flight, so hopefully it'll be comfortable, and fingers crossed that the lounge will be opened. I don't know what the situation is. There are not a lot of flights leaving around this time because in terms of lockdown, things have gotten a lot worse. Much of the eastern states are locked down, so we can't go there, they can't come here, and Western Australia has closed themselves off to pretty much the rest of the country. So we can't go there as well. So the only possible destinations that we can go to is up north to Northern Territory from Adelaide, or down south to Tasmania. And Queensland is in the process of opening themselves up to us. So fingers crossed that will happen in the next few weeks or so. Yeah, so that's why I decided to go up north to Darwin this morning. So can't wait to get this journey started. So let's do this.
Welcome to Adelaide Airport this morning. Who would have thought, almost 2 years into this pandemic, COVID normal would mean an empty airport, because on this day, half the country was locked up at home, unable to travel. That's 12.5 million people sitting idle in a population of 25 million. Entry into the lounge was only possible at 6 a.m, as the first flight today was a Qantas flight to Perth at 7 a.m. As expected, with only a handful of flights, the lounge was extremely empty. In fact, I was surprised they were even open at all. On a positive note, magazines are back on the shelves, although they are all individually plastic wrapped and you have to take them with you once you've read it. Breakfast was available, but selection was extremely limited due to the low traffic volume.
And voila! An outfit change later, and I'm here at the Qantas lounge. So I'm going to grab a quick brekkie before running to the gate to board my Jetstar flight that departs at 6:40. Well, in my previous video when I was last at Adelaide Airport, I mentioned about how the Qantas lounge looks a bit outdated compared to what we have over at Virgin Australia. Yeah, so the renovations for Qantas lounges hasn't really rolled out to all the lounges yet. You've got Darwin that's pretty much left behind, and of course here in Adelaide, I just think that this place needs to be blown up and rebuilt again from the start, because it's got a very 90s vibe to it, like early 2000s, 1990s. You're talking about shoulder pads, big hair. And speaking of that, I actually have a friend that's going to be joining me in the lounge today. She would fit right into this environment here. I think she's arriving right about now. Hey.
Boarding was called on time at about 6:15 a.m. Taking us across the continent this morning was an Airbus A320, which was slightly under 9 years old at the time of writing. Seeing how Darwin was one of the few destinations we could go to from Adelaide without restrictions, it wasn't surprising this was a pretty full flight, with only 9 empty seats after doors closed.
Again, we want you to have a safe and enjoyable flight. So please listen closely while we take you through the safety requirements for our Airbus A320. Your crew are highly trained to help keep you safe, so make sure you listen to and follow their instructions. As we get underway, please make sure your personal electronic devices are in a flight safe mode or otherwise completely switched off.
Taking off from runway 23, this is my first time heading on a northerly trajectory out of Adelaide Airport. Therefore, being seated on the right side, I had a vantage view of the St. Vincent Gulf off the coastline before we turned right after climb out. Our flight path took us towards Port Pirie, Whyalla, Alice Springs and on to Darwin. The flying distance between Adelaide and Darwin is 2,620 kilometers. The flight time today clocked in at 3 hours and 50 minutes from pushback to chocks.
We're tracking direct to Woomera at the moment, passing over the western shore of the Gulf Peninsula shortly, just north of Wallaroo. Then we'll head up towards Woomera, as I said, on to Alice Springs and Catherine after that, descending into Darwin shortly after. We have some headwinds this morning, so we'll be a little bit behind schedule at 10:30 AM into Darwin. Weather's fine at the moment. The current temperature is 22 degrees and forecasting clear skies throughout the day and a fine day in Darwin.
The meal service started very swiftly as soon as the seatbelt signs were pinged off. Service started from the front, and it seemed like everyone wanted to buy something to eat or drink. Because of this, service was extremely slow. We took off from Adelaide just before 7 AM, and it is now 8:20 by the time I got all the items of my order. If this was an Adelaide to Melbourne flight, we would already have landed and parked at a gate at Tullamarine. Jetstar has 3 options for warm meals. The ham and cheese toastie is by far the most popular and always sold out by the time they get to me at the last row. Cup noodles taste like shit and should not be attempted even at the best of times. So that leaves me with Dad's Pies. It comes with 1 steak pie and a sausage roll. It's a wholesome package. 190 grams of processed meat goodness. The taste isn't any better or worse than what you'd get from a servo. Flying over the interior of Australia has always felt very magical to me. I have done it countless of times, and yet every time I see it again from up here, it fills me with awe. It is so barren and yet so beautiful in all its reddish glory. So thank God I find fulfillment in looking out of the window, because the cabin of Jetstar is bare bones with no entertainment. Since I was headed up north to the legendary Northern Territory humidity, another outfit change was necessary, so I decided to show more skin. After all, I was going from a 2-degree morning to a muggy top of 35 degrees later on. If I had it my way, I'd be arriving into Darwin just in my underwear. On this day of travel, one state after another on the eastern coast surrendered to the Delta variant of COVID and was locked down one form or another. For us in South Australia, even though we were free to travel, I felt as if the walls were closing in on me with not many places we could fly to without the need for a mandatory 14-day stay at a hotel. This trip to Darwin was a good opportunity for me to visit again because my last trip there was before Y2K. I am pretty sure much has changed. As we descend into Darwin International Airport, let me conclude this flight quickly. The cabin crew this morning was such a huge contrast to the one I last encountered on my previous flight from Perth. I did the usual thing of letting the media department know about my filming, and I was left on my own. The hosties serving my aisle were all cheerful and extremely friendly, and one of them even helped with a crying baby behind me. Assuring the mother not to apologize for a crying baby because, it's a baby. That's what they do. I thought that was a nice touch. Our approach had us flying over the airport and the city centre before turning right to line up for the runway, making this a very scenic arrival.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's our pleasure to welcome you to Darwin. Local times just approaching 10:30 in the morning. Jetstar would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land. We'd also like to pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Today we'll exit using the forward left-hand door only. Before you head off, please double check you have everything with you and be careful when opening the overhead lockers just in case any luggage has moved during the flight. Remember taking your face masks or wipes for the used or unused off the aircraft with you. If your mobile phone is within reach, you can now switch it on. Any other devices need to stay switched off until you're inside the terminal. A friendly reminder that smoking is not permitted in the terminal building. On behalf of all the crew, it's been our pleasure having you on board today. We hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in Darwin. Thank you and good morning.
Once we were docked at the terminal, it was a while before we were allowed off the aircraft. The disembarkation process was very slow because Northern Territory, together with the states of South Australia and Western Australia, seem to be the only states who are actively screening arriving passengers and their border pass applications. None of the eastern states do that, and it is hard not to make this connection as to why they are all locked down at this stage, dealing with their own outbreaks.
Welcome to Darwin, everyone. So here am I, Darwin International Airport. It's been 22 years since the last time I stepped foot in Darwin, and here am I again on a little homecoming of sorts. Yeah, that arrival process, oh my goodness, I thought Perth Terminal 3 and 4 arrival, the COVID screening process was bad, but this takes the cake. It took us slightly, or at least it took me, because I was seated at the back of the plane, so it took me slightly more than an hour to go through the entire line to get my COVID screening done. But at least the staff they were cheerful and apologetic about it, and they admitted that they didn't have enough people to do the screening today. But anyway, all that is done and dusted, and I'm out in this hot, humid weather. It's been 2.5 years since I felt humidity on my face, and I can feel it's becoming so greasy already. Yeah, so anyway, I'm glad to be in Northern Territory again. I'll be here for a few days, and as usual, my journey through a new destination is to eat my way through it. So I hope you'll follow me on that journey. So if you haven't done so already, don't forget to give me a follow on my socials and hit that subscribe button, and also tap that bell notification icon so you'll know when my next video is. Alright, so I'll see you when I get to Darwin, and I'll see you for my next video. Alright, see you around. Bye.